G'day, cunts! Welcome to episode number 49 of the GreenCast, a podcast by me, Mr. GreenTex, where I ramble to myself in my bedroom like a fucking madman. Fucking 49, how about that? I just realized that episode 50 is next week or week after, more bi-weekly there at this point, which, yeah. Fuck, what do I do for episode 50? I just realized I have nothing planned for it, but it's somewhat of a big milestone that I feel like I should celebrate. Fuck. What do I to start the podcast? If you have any ideas of what you'd like to see for episode 50, I guess, of the podcast, please do let me know down below. I don't know, it'll probably just end up probably I can't speak properly, but yet I have a narration channel. Lol. It'll probably be some sort of guest I'll have on for episode 50, probably most likely. I just don't know who at this point. I've got a couple people in mind, but I don't know if we'll see, I don't know. But, yeah, so, fucking, you're here for the two clickbaity things, so, I don't know, which one should I do first? Let's do the Clive Palmer one, because, yeah, thought I was going to record a podcast, last week, but I obviously didn't, so, while it's still sort of fresh in mind, I'll do that, sort of first. So, pretty much, if you haven't seen the video, please go watch the video, because it's one of my favourite that I've done on the channel. It was very much a spur-of-the-moment, last-minute sort of thing that I saw. I went to a Clive Palmer rally, which if you don't know who Clive Palmer is, or context for majority of people that aren't in fucking Australia, Clive Palmer is like the weird memester who is somewhat self-aware, with like meme culture. Like, you know, a lot of people call Clive Palmer the humble meme merchant, which is very much just his like nephews or his like fucking family that's running the account. And he's got his own Facebook page and stuff and else, which also, funny story about, Clive Palmer had a Facebook meme page, and within 3 days it got taken over and got turned into a weird Nazism thing, where they would be constantly posting pro-Nazi memes, and it was not great for him. But also Clive Palmer, you might know him from other international stories, such as trying to build the Titanic 2, a perfect replica of the Titanic in every single way, and sail it around the world again. What could go wrong? It could cost billions of dollars. That is nothing to him. But that obviously failed. That didn't go through. Another one of his notorious international failures of business included that he built he tried to build a dinosaur golf course, but he only built the dinosaurs part and didn't really finish the golf course or really anything, and I don't think it's really even accessible now anymore. So he's just got these weird animatronic dinosaurs that are just there. Don't know what happened to them. I should do a quick Google, but I also cannot be fucked. So yeah, he's a big fat dude. It's probably like 60 or 70. I could probably Google that. Hey Google, how old is Clive Palmer?
Clive Palmer is 65 years old.
Yeah, I fucking nailed that. 65 years old. But yeah, so that's some sort of background for him. Oh, and with the latest election as well. So he's a businessman trying to get into politics like fucking everyone is at this point. He started his own party called the Palmer United Party, where he'd just try and get all of the youngsters obviously to vote for him with all the memes like I was talking about before. His slogan was "Make Australia Great Again," or "Make Australia Great." Does that sound familiar to you at all? So yeah, and there was, you know, fucking a heap of billboards going around the place with him with his thumbs up, and everyone was hating him and, you know, drawing mustaches and swastikas on the billboards, and it was hilarity ensued. So this cunt spent $60 million on campaigning to get at least a seat in the in Parliament. Not one did he get, despite the $60 million that he spent. And even during the actual voting week, the cunt went on a fucking holiday to some, you know, U-Butte bloody island in the middle of nowhere. Some fucking Bali or some shit. It wasn't even in the fucking country. Well, his own party was getting voted for. Like, the fucking arrogance on this cunt. So, basically, from there, there's so much more explaining to this than I fucking thought now that I'm actually just thinking about this. So, Clive Palmer, the wankster, obviously, you know, when you look into his policies, not that great of a dude, but a lot of people, you know, vote for him because they like him as a person rather than, you know, his policies. My name is Trump. So, from there, there's a political sort of satire YouTube Australian channel called Friendly Geordies, who mostly focuses on, like, political satire and comedy. He is getting sued by Clive Palmer for, let me just get up the words, because they absolutely make myself pee. Make myself pee every time. Let me just, Friendly Geordies. Sued by Clive. I can't type. Clive Palmer. Let me see. There's a bunch of names here. Let's see. Oh, okay. So the main offender here is in a video that he made like a year or two ago at this point. Friendly Geordies called Clive Palmer a fatty McFuckhead. He apparently photoshopped his head onto a baby that was being held up by Trump. He also called him a dense Humpty Dumpty, as well as the love child of Donald Trump and Big Kev. Now, Big Kev is also one of our old prime ministers here, Kevin Rudd, which is also known as one of the funny memesters of our generation. Good old Big Kev. But, so, yeah, this cunt is suing someone on YouTube because he called him a fatty McFuckhead and a dense Humpty Dumpty. Now, do yourself a favor and go actually check out Friendly Geordie's video just titled Fatty. I'll probably link it in the description if I remember. Probably not, but that's the name of the video, so go check it out. It's like half an hour long, but in the video, he proves that both Clive Palmer is both a dense Humpty Dumpty and a fatty McFuckface, because let's be honest, he is quite fat, and he is a bit of a fuckhead, not gonna lie. So, yeah, so that spawned this whole fucking range of memes of, you know, there's also a bunch of other, like, bits and pieces here. Apparently one of the other things that are written out, I've just got an article up in front of me. One of the articles says here that the publication depicted Mr. Palmer in defamatory and derogatory images, which only serves to exacerbate and the defamatory nature of impulses, blah, 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 you hurt my feelings, by placing an image of his head in a cartoon video depiction of Homer Simpson and Ned Flanders. Holy shit, he got tilted because he fucking put his head on a Simpsons meme. This is too fucking good, bro. Like, as much of a fucking walking meme as this cunt is, he can't take a fucking joke, which is also, you know, the funniest part of this whole thing. So, now that you know all this fucking backstory to this, I guess the only other part that you really need to know is the whole trend of, like, Facebook event memes that has spawned, mostly after the Area 51 raid. There was a Facebook event started by some page here in my local area in Brisbane that said, "Stand outside Clive Palmer's office and call him a fatty McFuckhead." Now, I saw that because someone said they're interested in my friends list, and I'm like, that could be a funny meme. I'm just going to click interested and see what happens. And so it rolls around to like a day before, and I'm like, I think I actually want to go to this. This could be a really good fucking meme to film, because I have a feeling it's going to be a train wreck. Because 1.3 thousand said that they were interested in going, and by that night it said there was 300 people had responded saying that they are going. Now, the number of people that said they were going on the Area 51 raid was like, what? 3 million or something retarded like that? And like 150, maybe 300 max showed up. That's not a great fucking ratio. And, you've organised an event through Facebook and you've invited people, and, there's still been plenty of people that said they were going, just don't show up anyway. This is not a great ratio. So, already 300, I'm like, there's not going to be many people here. And if it is, it's going to be a hot meme. If not, I'll just pack up and fucking skate with my friend. It'll be lit. Either way, let's just do it. So I'll pack up a little bit of recording gear, literally record it on my phone, because I broke my camera like 3 years ago and I just can't be fucked replacing it. And, I've got a Galaxy S10. It's pretty, it's standard. It does the job at this point. It suffices as my video camera at this point as well. Just half the reason I bought it. But yeah, anyway, I show up, and immediately things are going wrong. I meet up with my friend, who I'm meeting up to skate with, and also, getting him to film me. The office space is currently closed off from one direction because there's construction next door and the footpath is closed. And already I'm like, wait a minute, can we actually get to this office space here? And so we start fucking walking around the office space, and I'm looking through the Facebook page. And then I see a comment or a post on the event page by someone explaining that the office space that is actually listed on the event page that it's been held at is actually a shared office space between multiple political parties. And it's Saturday. There may or may not be even any people there working on any political party, let alone anyone from the Palmer United Party. And sure as shit, Clive Palmer himself isn't gonna fucking be there. So already I'm like, oh, this is already going to shit. But this also helps my video at this point, and could be an even better meme. And so we have to fucking cross the road because the footpath is closed this direction. Start walking across, and I see sort of a hipster-looking fellow who is wearing a yellow shirt, and he has the Clive Palmer shirt, which Jordan Shanks of Friendly Geordies is selling, that just says Clive Palmer's a fatty McFuckhead on it. So I'm like, oh, okay, thank God, I found at least one person. And I stopped him and started talking to him for a bit, being like, oh yeah, you here for the Clive Palmer thing too? And he's like, oh yeah, just trying to find it, I can't see anyone. And then he's like, oh, I just want to go get me bagel. And I'm like, alright. And I just explained to him, just like, hey, I'm going to film the event for a meme. Do you want to do an interview? Is that okay? And he's like, yeah, sure, just let me go get me bagel and hang around this place. And I'm like, yeah, alright, lit. So I walk around, and then I see a group of people, 3 people together in front of the address that is listed. And at first, I see, a sleeping bag and a pile of, shit. That sort of stuff that I'm talking about. Homeless shit. The stuff that, the pile of shit that a homeless person, just has scattered around their sleeping cardboard or whatever the fuck. And I see this dude with a fucking... a tuba, a long navy trench coat, and a Furby hat. And immediately my first thought is, oh no, this person isn't here for the event. This is just a weedless homeless person just trying to, busk on the street, trying to get a bit of mum. So I fucking walk around, and he's talking with these other people. One dude has a camera, and I'm like, alright, okay, someone else had the same idea as me. This has to be the event. This has to be the people here. And I'm like, hey guys, are you here for this fucking Clive Palmer event? They're like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, we are. And I'm like, oh yeah, alright, lit. And by this time as well, it was scheduled to start at 1 p.m. We showed up at about 10 past 1, including me and my friend and the other people who are there. There's a grand total of 5 people here at the moment. Out of 300, there are 5. And I'm like, okay. My standards were low, but holy fuck. And there's just regular people walking out of this address as well, and it's not, overly looking like a fucking political fucking hub of a place either. And I noticed that this guy playing the tuba is wearing toy fish as shoes as well. And he has bright red sort of styled Ozzy Osbourne circular sunglasses. Has a long, ginger, scraggly beard, and as I'm talking to him as well and setting up all my stuff after, again, I asked him, is it okay if I film this, because I don't want to, you need to get permission from people. And as I'm talking about it, I'm like, da-da-da-da. He fucking opens up his trench coat, and for a hot second, I thought I was going to get flashed. But no, he revealed that he actually had a Palmer United fucking t-shirt underneath. This cunt, playing the tuba, apparently had volunteered for Clive Palmer in one of the tolling booths during the actual, like, the week of voting. And already I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking gold. This couldn't have gone any better with a cunt playing a fucking tuba and wearing Fisher's shoes. Meanwhile, there's a little literal neckbeard there, who it probably look, if they're listening, I'm sorry, but it was a big fella. And the other guy, sort of, other typical sort of basement dweller fellow wearing a fucking grandpa golfing hat. You know the one I'm talking about, like those Scottish, like, weird hats. You know what I'm fucking talking about? Yeah, and he was the dude with the camera. So, and I'm like, alright, fuck, okay. We'll just wait here for like another 10 minutes, hoping literally anyone else shows up. If not, we're like, okay, we'll just fucking... I'll do a meme intro, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Meanwhile, the fucking cunt with the tuba is just, like, going back and forth, I swear, playing the fucking theme that Peter Griffin plays, or some... What is that scene from Family Guy, where, someone's playing, like, the tuba, as like, fat people water, like... You know what I'm talking about? I'm not going crazy, right? I think I'm not going to put in the scene because Family Guy is notorious for, like, yeeting people that put Family Guy clips on the channel. So, while this cunt's going back and forth, I'm like, alright, I'll record an opening piece. I do that, and then eventually, after I do that, the other guy before, who I was talking to and ran into as the t-shirt, he's got his fucking bagel and he's coming back, eats his bagel, and I'm like, alright, let's fucking do an interview with this lad. Okay, let me just quickly have a drink as well. Man, my mouth is getting dry. So yeah, I do the interview with that fellow. Seemed like a relatively normal dude, have a couple inside memes as well. And then, just... as I was... after I finished filming the opening bit of the intro of the video as well, the fucking cunt with the tuba just waddles over to me and just starts playing beside me, and I'm just like, what the fuck do I do? Should I just start, like, dancing and then saying Clive Palmer's a fatty McFuckface? And I just, like, had to... every bit of my body just had to, like, refrain from just laughing at him rather than, like, with him as well. So, we do that. But also, like, I'm interviewing the other guy. The cunt's still going back and forth, and you can see it in the video, just waddling around with his tuba. And, we wait around for another 5 minutes or so. Still no one fucking shows up. I don't blame them as well, to be honest. Like, if I saw a dude in a Furby hat and navy trench coat, wearing fish for shoes and red sunglasses, while playing the tuba, walking back and forth, I'm not going near that fucking crazy cunt either. I don't fucking blame him. And so I'm like, alright, well, I guess I gotta finish up this video with interviewing this fucking wacko. So, I interview him. That goes through. And then after that finishes, I'm packing out all my gear. Because also this whole time, like, I just didn't really explain my channel. And I just recorded the video, just pulling the mask over my face as well. But as I was packing down, they're like, oh, by the way, you kept saying... I just kept saying it's for social media. I didn't say what or who. And eventually I'm like, whatever. Just like, I'm Mr. GreenCast on everything. Just on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, da-da-da. And then one dude's like, oh yeah, alright, sick. And then he pulls up my YouTube, he's like, holy shit, you have 70,000 subs? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, trying to be, like, real humble about it as well, because I think I've said this before. Like, 70,000, like, yeah, it's still it's a pretty high number. It's higher than, like, majority of people. But once it gets past, like, 100k, or I get to 100k subs, I think that's a bit more brag-worthy, and that's when I'll start flexing on the noobs a bit more. And, so, I think this, the guy in the yellow shirt says something about, like, he has a YouTube channel, and I'm like, yeah, alright, lit, I don't care. But then the other guy with the tuba says that he has a YouTube channel as well, and I'm like, oh, do you? He says something like alternative facts, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course it fucking is. And, we say goodbye to everyone. Oh no, before we do though, the entire time here, we've been there for about half an hour at this point. Not one person has shouted Clive Palmer as a fatty McFuckhead at this point. Which, again, was the whole point of the Facebook group. So I'm like, boys, gather round. We got to give at least one shout of fatty McFuckhead out here. And so I get my friend to film, and we set it up, and yeah, the fucking tuba guy, of course, shouts at the top of his fucking lungs. And then, yeah, we quickly pack down and fucking skate the hell out of there before the cops show up, because they get a call from a cunt playing a tuba is shouting Clive Palmer as a fatty McFuckhead. So we get out of there, and I just, my friend and I, we just skate around the city for a while, practicing ollies and shit. And that was fucking that. But yeah, if you haven't seen that video, please do go watch it. And if you do want to see more of that sort of stuff, please do let me know. I've got a couple of ideas for other things that I might do in the future, but we'll see where that goes. Oh man, I need to fuck another drink. Might be a sort of longer sort of podcast as well, looking at my other topics, because they're quite... I literally don't have that many topics here, but there's such good fucking stories here that it might end up being a longer one. I still haven't even gotten into questions yet. But speaking of skateboarding, I fucking sprained my goddamn wrist skateboarding last week, and boy, it still has not fucking healed. Which, yeah, this is the first time I've ever sprained anything in my body, which thankfully it wasn't a bone. But basically what happened was, said friend and I as well, like 3 or 4 days later, I also live more so, I live in like North Brisbane suburbs sort of ish, and he lives more in the city, and his parents sort of live sort of near me. So if he's visiting his parents or, coming along that way, he'll fucking shoot me a message, and then we'll go skating afterwards, on his way back up to the city. And so we went down to a skate park that's somewhat near me. And there's a couple skaters there already with actual skateboards, and not like lads with scooters for once. But they're like proper like stereotype skaters. Like there's one sort of skinny guy with like a t-shirt that's too large for him, with the white skate shoes with like no laces, kind of missing some teeth. The other guy's really skinny, not wearing a t-shirt, not wearing a shirt at all, baggy sort of pants, and they've bought some fucking Coronas with them to the skate park, and they're just having a casual bevy while they're skateboarding and trying to practice their tricks. And so my friend and I are just trying to practice our ollie, because we just want to get that down, because, we've only been skating properly for like, 5-6 months now at this point, if that. And practicing that, and then eventually one of them, as they're like skating around the park, they're like, "Hey boys, how you going? What you doing?" And then we're like, "Oh yeah, we're just trying to practice our ollies." And they're like, "Oh yeah, show us what you got." Turns out one of the guys there is a fucking actual skateboard instructor, and is showing us like some tips and tricks on how to ollie. But then they actually explain that, if you want to get your ollie down, or a step you might want to master before trying to do an ollie, it's just skateboarding off ledges. And my friend and I are like, I don't know about that. But there actually are quite a few like different sized ledges around the place, and so they showed us. And the first place was probably, the first ledges maybe like, I don't know, I've actually got a ruler beside me, hold on. It was probably about, I don't know, 9 centimeters, about 3.5 inch. Yeah, about 9 centimeters, 10 centimeters. I'd say 10. 10 centimeters is probably about right. I don't know why they fucking make it 9. So not overly that big, but still like, holy shit, we've never skated off a thing before. I mean, we still can't even drop in on a skateboard, for fuck's sake. And, they're giving us pointers and such, and being like, oh yeah, when you go down off, it's more so just being confident with it, more leaning your back forward a lot more. And, we go there, and my friend and I both actually do it. We're getting pretty good at it. And he's like, oh, okay, you're getting pretty good at that? Time to go up a fucking ledge. And so the next ledge is probably about 20 centimeters. Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe 20. Yeah, I'd say 20 centimeters is probably about right. I've literally got a ruler in my hand. So probably about 20 centimeters off the ground. And we're like, okay, right, we can do this. I fucking nail it first go, and I'm like, hell yeah. But, we're doing that for like 20, 30 minutes or so. And one of them just goes, oh yeah, before you know it, you'd be fucking having a go at this ledge over here. Which this one is probably about... would that be? Hold on, let me have a look. Oh yeah, I'd say about 60 centimeters off the ground, which, if I flip this over, is about 23 inches. So, and I don't know, I think I might have misheard him. I don't know what went through my brain, but I think he also just kind of half, like, I can't tell if he was... Also, I just bumped the mic, I'm sorry for that, whatever the fuck that was. I can't tell if he was saying... oh yeah, you'll be doing this before you know it, as in, like, keep practicing that and eventually you can try this. Or just be like, you're alright, you mastered that, have a go at this now. I thought he said the latter. And, so, I have it go for the first time, and, stack it, obviously, Rollo, fucking Commander rollers a fall off, and he's like, oh yeah, fucking sick, bro. And he does the stereotypical, like, skater shake thing, where you slap your hands together, and then you just fist bump. I got a couple of those, so humble brag from actual skaters. Yeah, my friend and I are doing it, and then, they're real fucking nice dudes as well. They look intimidating, but they're real nice. Literally, they're just like, yeah, alright, we'll guide you through this giant leap, just so you can get, comfortable with it. And literally, held our fucking hands as we went down off this ledge. It was fucking wild. And so we're practicing this, and then eventually I fall off, stack it again, and I'm like, damn it, I'll keep going. And I notice my wrist is starting to hurt a bit. I'm like, that's weird. But I'm like, I just fell over, it's fine. And, I'm skating a bit more, and I'm like, why does my wrist still hurt? That's weird. And then I go to move my wrist, and I'm like, oh, moving my wrist really hurts. I think I might have sprayed my fucking wrist. And so my friend's like, oh, you okay? You want to go get some ice or something? And I'm like, no, she'll be right. I might not have sprained it. Like, another 5 minutes later, I could see the red marks starting to swell, and I'm like, oh no, I've sprained it. Oh, fuck. Shit. So my friend and I are like, alright, okay, let's call it early. We'd been there for maybe a little over an hour or so. So we skated all the way back to our cars. I go home, and already my wrist is starting to swell up a lot more at this point. And Mum gets out the fucking good old frozen peas, and that's my goddamn ice pack. So we're going on and off for about that for a bit. And yeah, I that day I couldn't move my wrist up or down. At this point I can move my wrist down today as of recording pretty much fine. Up, I've got a lot more movement, more back, but it still kind of hurts a little bit. My mum tried to freak me out the other day when I'm like, hey, how long do you think this is going to take to heal? And she's like, might not never heal again. You might always have that sort of weird feeling in your wrist. And I'm like, oh, don't say that. I will fucking cry if that happens. But, yeah. I chose not to go to the doctors because I'm a fucking idiot. But also at the same time, just doing some quick Googling, if I'd sprained a bone, I wouldn't be able to fucking move my fingers at all, or I wouldn't have any feeling in my hand. And the fact that I could still move my wrist at all meant that I'd actually probably just sprain the tendon, and I'd probably be fine. And yeah, you could feel it around, and I could, at the time especially, I could feel and move around the tendon in my fucking wrist, and it was whack as hell. And I'm like, oh, okay, shit, so I guess I gotta deal with this now. And, so, me being big brain, and also being the fucking 1% of people that own a 3D printer, and had seen these designs online, I decided to just 3D print myself a stint/cast to wear for a couple of days. And yeah, it's this really fucking cool, hexagonal design. I put an image on my Twitter, so go check that out if you want to see it. Where it basically just, it prints flat, and then I have a heat gun, and then I heat up the plastic, and then I just mold it to around my hand. So it basically restricts my arm from being able to move around up and down, just like a normal fucking cast. Except, the pros of having this hexagonal design of a cast is that, one, it won't smell, and two, I can fucking shower with it absolutely fine. And three, it looks stylish as hell. I just can't doodle on it, unfortunately. No one can fucking sign your cast. But, yeah, so that's been my fucking life for the past about week, and it sucks dick because that means I can't really go to gym to do much apart from fucking go on the treadmill, because I can't grab stuff with my full strength yet. Or again, I'll probably go about halfway through this week, probably just do some more like leg sort of stuff. I did some kicks last week because that's about all I really could do, because that's mostly just holding my hands to my chest when I do that. But yeah, it sucks dick at this point, having a sprained wrist, especially since it's my dominant fucking hand as well. And I guess it wasn't even that gnarly of a thing that happened. I didn't even notice it happening. I guess when I fell, I just caught myself on my wrist, and I guess it bent back a little bit further than it's used to, and just, like, sprained a tendon, or like tore a tendon more like. So yeah, it's been sucking absolute donkey dick with that thing, but I'm healing, I'll get better. Fuck my parents, I will get better at this point. And yeah, so that was thing. But yeah, I guess the shit thing as well about that was that I was wearing, like, I was wearing helmets, I was wearing elbow pads, I was wearing knee pads, and I fucking sprained my wrist. I'm so padded up, and I still fucking injure the thing that I just can't cover and can't do anything about if it fucking happens. So that was fucking that thing. Drink time. Speaking of gym, your boy is the master of segues here this episode. Holy shit. Oh, sorry, I bumped the fucking thing again there. Bit of ear rape. I'll see if I edit that out. If not, I'm sorry. A couple of weeks ago, there was, I think, the one titled Tales from the Sauna. I talked about these people that I met that I dubbed the Australian Alex Jones and the Born Again Christian. I ran into the Born Again Christian again in the sauna, and we did all the good old, what's the word that I'm looking for here? The pleasantries. I knew it was a P somewhere. The standard pleasantries of like, yeah, g'day mate, how you going? Fucking, how's your workout going? Yeah. Da. And talk about how whack our last conversation we had was and everything else. And then, out of the fucking blue, he says, hey, I got a weird question for you, and you can say no if you don't want to. And I'm like, okay, yeah, shoot, I guess. He then says, can I pray for you? And I'm like, sure, I guess, if you really want to. And he's like, oh, what would you like me to pray for? Is there anything in your life that, or even like sort of a miracle that you'd want me to pray for? Is there like, some family that are going through some stuff or something like that? And I'm like, I literally fucking stare at the wall for like 20 seconds, like thinking, and I'm like, friends are pretty good. I enjoy life a lot. And I literally just say, oh, my dad's pretty old. You can pray for my dad, I guess. Which, for context, my dad is 81 years old. I'm 21. I know, it's fucking weird. I get it all the time. Da-da-da-da. Haha, your dad's older than my grandparents. Yeah, I get that a lot at this point. I know. But, yeah, we eventually just turns into just talking about, like, old parents and stuff like that, and grandparents. But, I don't know, he didn't want to pray for him for whatever fucking reason. He's like, oh, maybe, like, pray for, like, your job or something like that, even. And I'm like, oh, work for myself is not really, I don't know. But then eventually I just come to the answer of just like, oh, wouldn't mind working on a big budget TV show or movie or some shit like that. That'd be nice. And he goes, yeah, alright, that'll do. And then he just goes, dear God, please let, name redacted, have an open mind when any sort of job opportunities or gets a job on a big budget television show or movie or anything like that. And then, I can't remember what the fucking rest of it was, but then, like, he suddenly goes on to saying something about rest, and that God kept telling him that I need rest. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, he's just kept going on about like, oh, God just kept telling me like you need rest and stuff like that. And I'm like, fucking okay, that's kind of weird, but sure. He's like, oh, how are you sleeping lately? And I'm like, oh, pretty well, not gonna lie. Sleep like 9 hours, pretty solid 9 hours every night. I haven't really had a sleepless night for a goddamn while. Sleep pretty well. He's like, yeah, okay. Well, next time I see you, I'll make sure to ask you about how you're sleeping. And I'm like, yeah, alright, mate. Okay. And, yeah, that fucking... that next morning, I think I woke up like twice that night, and I'm like, whatever. And then slept pretty good the next night after, or whatever the fuck. I can't even remember. Like, yeah, it was so whack out. Oh, and like, I buried the fucking lead in this too. As I was talking to him as well, I couldn't remember his fucking name, but he thankfully, because I always go like, bro, dude, at the gym, because I just don't know anyone's fucking name. But we had said our names the last time we met each other. And I could see he was about to try and think of my name. And then he says it. And then I'm like, oh shit, I'm actually surprised he remembered my name. And he's like, oh yeah, I was struggling to remember your name. But then like it just popped into my head. And like God just told me that your name was this. And I'm like, oh. Okay. Like this guy fucking is so deep in this shit here, bro, that like he thinks that it's such like, oh, I don't even know how to fucking explain this. Just like he remembered and he's like, oh, that was good. And I'm like, alright, bro, alright. Whatever you want to say. So that was that whole fucking weird experience of getting prayed for in a fucking gym sauna. So, bro, I met some fucking characters in the sauna, and I just bumped the mic again, and I'm not sorry. Meet such weird characters in the sauna, and I'm so fucking delighted, because I'm just going to keep doing it, because it's glorious content. Oh, yes, the last thing I want to talk about here is I took the chance and I went and saw a stand-up comedian that I've never seen before, by the name of Rory Lowe, who is a smaller sort of kind of Australian. He was born in the UK, but he moved here like 15 years ago. So he's been here for like most of his life here at this point. He has a YouTube channel called Rory Lowe Comedy. He does Australian dub things, which are really original. But he found viral success from doing like Australian versions of Disney movies and stuff, which also is hilarious to me because I also know a person who gets a decent amount of views from that. Good old Scarnon cunts. So yeah, I'm like, oh, fucking okay, does that sort of shit. But he was on the Luke and Lewis podcast, which is probably one of my favourite podcasts that I listen to from Australian comedians, Lewis Spears and Luke Kedgel. Good lads. Had them both separately on the podcast at different points. Go check those out. But they had Rory on, and I just really enjoyed him on the podcast. He had some really fucking cool stories, and he's running his tour a bit, and sounded like it was pretty lit. And yeah, it was actually a really good fucking show. It was his first tour. Chill Bill. Met him afterwards. Almost went for a fucking beer with him, but I'm like, I actually got stuff to do, bro. I have to leave. He's like, yeah, no worries. And then, yeah, he literally went and had a beer with some of the people that came to the show. Like 5 or 6 people that were just staying right afterwards chatting to him. And I'm like, oh, that's so fucking cool, dude. They're just people like that, just down to meet fans like that. That's not a fucking invite, and I'm not implying anything here as well, dudes. We'll see. If there's any other big event, I might organize some sort of meetup. We'll fucking see. We'll see. But, yeah. It was also kind of weird when I showed up as well, because it said that the event was set to start at 7, but doors open at 6:30. And, the train is kind of annoying, because it's only like half an hour intervals where it gets to the city. So, I could have either gotten there at 6, 6:30, or 7, and also like with especially stand-up shows, I love to try and sit as close, if not in the front row as I can, because I just got a fucking clear view of the comedian, and also I don't care about getting picked down to the crowd either. Like I'm not really I don't get stage fright really, or anything like that, or nowhere near as severe as most people, so I don't give a shit, and it's usually at least always free. And your boy's been going alone to a lot of these sort of events, so there's always at least one spare seat at the front row anyway. And, I wanted to get there a little bit early, and so I got there at 6:20, maybe 6:15, and there's no one there. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I bum around the venue for a bit, and then eventually some middle-aged woman comes up to me. It's like, oh, hello, can I help you? And I'm like, oh, I'm here to see this show from this comedian. Like, okay. And she checks her schedule. It's not in the schedule. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? That's weird. Did I have the right day? And I'm like, I check. And I'm like, oh, it's definitely the right date. Definitely the right time. And then eventually other people, show up. And, still, the person checks me in. I go in the venue. I sit right in the middle up the front. I am the only person there for the better part of about 15 minutes. Not gonna lie, for a good while, I thought I was gonna have a fucking solo show, and that would have been lit. But, it gets to about 6:45, and then another couple show up, and there's 3 people here now, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a really intimate show, this is really weird. Until eventually it gets to, about 6:55, 6:50, and then people start to roll in, and then Rory had delayed the show a little bit because apparently they had 60 people, 60 tickets sold, which apparently they all fucking decided to show up as the show started, which was really weird, and yeah, that was really just off-putting for me, because especially, I don't know, I like to be organised with these sort of things and come a little bit early, but there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'll just fucking show up at the time it starts, should be right. And I guess it kind of just annoyed me. But you know what else fucking annoys me? I'm on a roll with these fucking segues. Questions from you cunts. It is time for that most autistic part of the podcast. And that is, of course, to answer questions, queries, and topics from a bunch of you cunts. So, if you want to send any of those sort of things or any stories that you think I might get a chuckle out, as well as the rest of the audience, feel free to send me emails if you want to remain somewhat sort of anonymous. To mrgreentext@gmail.com. That's Mr. Greentext with an S on the end of that because a lot of people forget it. Or alternatively, join my Discord, scroll down to the GreenCast channel, and bang your comment in there, and I'll probably read it out. But probably not, because most of them are shit. The Mr. Player 1234 says, when was the last time you noted Mr. Greentext? Last night, I'm pretty sure. Summerot10 says, is there any kind of people that really hate each other in Aussie land? For example, everyone from Minnesota hates Wisconsin and vice versa. Is there anything on a bigger scale, country scale, or no? I guess collectively, as a country, majority of Australia hates people from Victoria or hates Victoria, because that's usually the sort of seen as the snowflake state. That's a fucking tongue twister and a half. Snowflake state. Fucking hell. The sort of snowflake state. That's also the state that put in female gendered crossing walk signs. Those fucking blinking red and green people. Yeah, they put a fucking dress on it. It's one of those fucking states. But yeah, I don't know, there's sort of places like that hate each other. There's obviously bogan places in majority of states. In Melbourne, for example, Frankston is kind of seen as the lad sort of Eshe bogan area. But I don't think there's really much statewide stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know, there's nothing that really comes to mind, really. Jack11 says, what is the craziest thing to us that is normal for you in Australia? Oh, that's fucking absolutely easy, bro. And the first thing that comes to mind immediately when I read that is the fucking drop bears, dude. It's these, offspin of, koalas that, they wait for you in fucking trees, and they do what they say in the package. They fucking jump on your ass, and yeah, a lot of people, that's a lot of the reason why people carry a lot of knives and that sort of rakes and things is for the fucking drop bears. So yeah, they're the fucking things we just have to deal with, but it's mostly just a sort of suburbs area. Occasionally you get them from time to time in cities, but yeah, drop bears, they're the thing, they're probably the craziest thing. But it's just it's fucking regular life at this point. And the last question here is from Autism Speaks, and he says, "The state of the world. I want to see your hot take." Now, I think I have a somewhat, I don't know, I was about to say, I have an interesting take on the world. No, I don't, not really. I think very much the world is what you want to make of it, especially if you spend a majority of your time on social media, for example, or even like Twitter, where the best example I can give of this is that there's people on my server especially that are constantly putting stuff in the name and shame channel, people freaking out about zoophiles and pedophiles and fucking other just horrid shit like that. And I feel like just a lot of the time is just that sort of shit. And it's just not worth my time to look into that sort of stuff and even be angry on those sort of things, especially constantly 24/7. Like, sure, if there's a big one that, involves me to any sort of degree, fucking sure, or even around my sort of area, but other than that, I'm not really going to give a shit overly about, like, some random zoophile, particularly. So I think very much the world is what you make of it. But yeah, I started talking about a thing with Twitter and then immediately forgot. Especially with like the cancel culture bullshit. A fun fact about Twitter is that 80% of all tweets on Twitter are sent from 2% of accounts. So when you talk about cancel culture, it's really majority of like a very small percentage of Twitter that are getting angry at you, and it's not the majority of people in the world that are fucking hating you, bro. Fucking climate change sucks dick. It sucks that it's kind of like a meme that climate change is a thing at this point, and it's kind of annoying that it is. Some people still do think it's a hoax at this point, and that's quite annoying, I guess, but, what are you gonna fucking do? Boomers be booming. But yeah, I don't know. Life is what you make of it, particularly. Life and the world is really what you make of it. There's good, there's bad. I guess you just, at the end of the day, you just have to, you have to choose to let only a certain amount of bad in your life, I guess. Focus on the things that fucking bring you happiness and joy, I guess. That state of the world kind of just turned into a more so motivational thing, but whatever, fuck it. Yeah, alright, I think I'm going to call it there for this episode of the podcast. So, if you made it the whole way through this almost 50 sort of minute podcast, be sure to include the word, how about sprain or break? Have you ever sprained any sort of bone in your body? Have you ever broken a bone in your body? I haven't, but if you have, let me know in the comments down below. If I see any sort of phrase or comment involving that, I'll know that you made it the whole way through the podcast, and I'll give you a fucking heart so you can stick out in front of all the normies. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and listening, or whatever the fuck else. Yeah, I'll catch you later. A cunt.